What's up? A to Z Sports here live on a Monday. Happy NFL Draft Week. Officially, we've made it. It's been a long 3.5, almost 4 full months since the Titans were awarded, I guess, the top pick in the NFL Draft, and all the conversation, all the topics that have been had since then. We have made it to Draft Week and just a few more days away until the Titans are officially on the clock at number 1 overall on Thursday night in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Zach, you'll be in Green Bay, Wisconsin for that number 1 overall draft pick. And Cam Ward will also be in attendance there from the green room. And then all of the conversation that happens after Cam Ward is the second biggest priority for this team after drafting Cam Ward number 1 overall. We'll go through it. Zach, you've got some questions, some things for the Titans to decide through. I'm in the dark on those. I have no idea what your questions are going to be. But we'll also get to the second biggest priority for the Titans after Cam Ward and Adam Schefter with some insider nuggets on ESPN.com early this morning on the morning of draft week. So let's get into it. The age game is also how we wrap up every Monday show. I've got an age game question to Zach this time. So we'll see if Zach can get on the winner board again, or if it's the chat just continues to add to the leaderboard. So Zach, welcome and hope you had a good weekend.
Yeah, a lot to get to. It's draft week. We've maneuvered through February, March, and now here we are in April. And we're going to find out what quarterbacks get taken on Thursday and Friday, what wide receivers get taken, who trades. I think that's a huge part. Who gets not only pick trades, but players already on teams get traded. Not to bring up the A.J. Brown situation that shook the world however many years ago. But these are all things that I think have started to trend even more over the years, and it is good to finally be here and see where all these players go. We are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We will tweet out link by link, segment by segment on X at A to Z Sports. So follow us over on Twitter at ATOZ Sports. If you like the NFL as a whole, you can follow our other Twitter handle at A to Z Sports NFL. That is our league-wide Twitter handle that's got some really good content going out there on a consistent basis. The easiest way to and this is important now because the draft, the times get all jumbled. So you want to make sure your live notifications are on and that you've subscribed to our A to Z Sports Nashville YouTube channel. Make sure you go to YouTube, search A to Z Sports Nashville, hit the subscribe button, and then lock in. You can like this show, but make sure your live alerts are on. Those ring the bell, as we say. That bell icon will make sure that you get notified when we go live, and this channel will go live at different times because the draft, crazy things happen. So that gets you locked in on YouTube right there. Facebook, what's going on? Facebookers, bottom left corner of your screen, sharing out of public. Sharing is caring and caring is sharing, as we say on this show. So share the show around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed. Draft week. Welcome to the show. Let's get this party started.
So officially, welcome to A to Z Sports here live on a Monday. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. You got to thank our sponsors. They make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And our friends at Bart Durham Injury Law. Crash can change your life forever, but help is just a click away online at bartdurham.com. So, Zach, we're going to get to a few of your questions that you have about the Titans draft, because this is your last show before the entire draft class will be selected. You will be in Green Bay with our social media manager, Jake Evans, on the ground doing all the gathering things, the content gathering stuff. And I know you've been to, let's see, this will be your third travel.
It'd be fourth. Las Vegas, Kansas City, Detroit.
Vegas. Okay. I forgot about Vegas.
Green Bay.
Vegas, Kansas City,
and
Detroit.
Tennessee.
Well, yeah,
they were in
not counting, yeah.
So now, they're starting to stack up. It's funny. The draft experience is unique, right? Because This will be obviously a different setup. I think it was a very smart move. Surprise, surprise. The NFL is good at business and making money. But going to smaller cities that Kansas City's not going to host a Super Bowl unless they have a dome stadium, right? Like right. Detroit, they've hosted one Super Bowl, but it's been a very, very long time. Actually, here's a trivia question. The last time Detroit hosted a Super Bowl, who was in that Super Bowl?
Steelers, Seahawks.
Bingo. Bingo, bango. That's pretty good retention right there. So few and far between, they've given these events to these other cities, and it'll be interesting to see how Green Bay, I think they're excited about it, how the setup is, but this is a good thing that the NFL does in transforming it, not just being in New York every single year. So excited about this week and the changing of teams. I thought this was a great comment to kind of start the show because I think it's impactful for the Titans. It's impactful for a lot of teams, but especially Tennessee. You know, Jason Martinez says 3 days left until the Titans start a new chapter. And, you know, we're at like 95 to 99% assumption that Cam Ward will be a Titan based on his Fortnite streams and lack of trades and all that stuff. But Jason Martinez is absolutely correct. This is the new era, the new dawning. Titans have had this experience before, whether it was Marcus Mariota, Vince Young, Jake Locker. This is it feels different. It feels a little different at this time. And we'll see what Cam Ward does and who they add to the roster after that number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, it is big. And there's a lot of opportunities for this team to get better. They are the worst team in football. We know that. There's been so much change at the top over the last 24 months. And now a chance to get realigned with Brian Callahan, Cam Ward, and the new front office structure to go win big. So before we dive into a couple of Zach's questions about this Titans draft, and then we get into some actual priorities for the Titans, Adam Schefter did drop some information this morning on ESPN.com, his intel that he's been hearing about the NFL draft on the Monday of NFL draft week. We'll start with the first. Where are the trades and who could get dealt? And Schefter writes, this draft already has made a mark all on its own. Now that it's 3 days away, this is the closest to the start of round 1 that there have been no trades for first-round picks in the common era since 1967. One of the biggest reasons for the lack of movement is what evaluators perceive to be the lack of blue-chip quarterbacks. For most teams, there isn't a quarterback outside of Cam Ward worth trading up for. The Browns inquired about the possibility of trading up from 2. The Giants at 3 were even more persistent in their efforts to trade up for the top pick with Tennessee. The Titans have resisted those overtures and are expected to hold on to their pick. So that, doesn't add anything new. It just confirms what we already knew, that the Browns and the Giants were the 2 teams that were most interested in exploring that idea. And at the NFL Combine at the end of February, the Giants were very persistent. And the whole talk of the Combine were, if the Titans can't get number 1, they want Matthew Stafford. Well, they couldn't get Matthew Stafford at the Combine. He re-signed with the Rams, and they still couldn't get number 1. So now the Giants are stuck at 3, trying to figure out what they want to do next. And and Schefter added, outside of what we have on the graphic, that no team has done more work on one player than the Giants have done on Shedeur Sanders. The Giants have done more work on Shedeur Sanders than the Titans have done on Cam Ward, according to Adam Schefter, because of what they were doing with Shedeur Sanders throughout the entirety of last college football season. So, Zach, your quick thoughts on the lack of trades at the top here, especially with the info on Cam Ward and the Browns and Giants.
Well, Shedeur Sanders needs more time on him because of, I think, his history, where he comes from, in the sense of the Deion connection. I think his demeanor, a lot of questions came from the individual meetings for Shedeur, is how much he actually cared about, it's a job interview, and this is what I think. And look, there's glitz and glam. He gets his number retired, which I think is also, I'm not on shade day, but there's a shade. It's ridiculous. When you go into these meetings, teams want you and you want to be drafted. The one thing I did love about Cam Ward is he came out and he said he wanted to be number one. If you don't pick me, that's on you. And I'm going to make sure that you're going to be sorry for not picking me number one. And then as that draft, pre-draft conversations happened, Cam Ward, the cream rose to the top. He was solidified as the number one pick. And the cost of Cam Ward started to go up. That also hurt the Giants' case of trading, right? Is the value of the Titans liking Cam Ward and him being more clear as the number one quarterback and the best player for a quarterback needy team like the Titans. We all know Abdul Carter has the bend and looks like Micah Parsons. We all know that Travis Hunter can play both sides of the ball and is probably the best athlete that has come out in years, right? You could argue maybe ever, but we'll find that out. So there is a ton of top tier talent at the top three picks, but the Titans are a quarterback needy team. Will Levis is not good enough to win enough games for them. And we've seen that. So I think the Shedeur Sanders, you need to put more time and effort into him. And I think that's some of the reasons why there has been no trades. The cost of living's high and going up. I think a top asking price, I think inflation, even though the salary cap's going up, inflation also, I think impacts like trade level. Because you go into this and the Titans need a franchise quarterback. You're going to have to give me, the King's ransom thing. You're going to really have to do that to steal that away. And then the Titans can't get down further enough to be out of the running for really top tier talent.
For sure. So how many times has the number one team in the draft who needs a quarterback traded that pick away for somebody else to take a quarterback? It just wasn't going to happen. So the other piece of information that Adam Schefter brought up this morning on ESPN.com about the Titans. Can the Titans add more premium picks? A team looking for more firepower on Friday might be the Titans, who, in a bit of irony, don't have a third-round pick thanks to their own GM, Mike Borgonzi. Just over a year ago, Borgonzi was the assistant GM of the Chiefs and a central figure of the trade that sent cornerback L'Jarius Sneed from Kansas City to Tennessee in exchange for this 2025 third-round pick. Now Borgonzi has been hired to help build up the Titans roster. Borgonzi turned down the Giants' overtures to trade up to number one in a package of picks that would have included a third-round pick this year. Now we'll have to see if he can find a way back into that round. So those are the two big Titans items from Schefter's reporting this morning. The other one maybe that's Titans adjacent is the what happens to quarterbacks that don't go in the first round. And Sam and I talked about this later in the week, this past week. I guess it was Thursday when we had our show about what's the best case scenario for the Titans to trade out of 35 overall and how the quarterback run could be affected, whether it's in the first round, how many are available in the second round. And so, there's a lot of opportunities, but the Titans missing a large chunk of capital right there where they currently have to wait 65 slots or 68 slots, from 35 all the way to 103. So that's a lot of talent in this draft that the Titans would not have an opportunity to find fault to them if they currently don't add a third round pick. So any thoughts on that?
Well, you start to diagnose and it's too early. Is Sneed worth it, right? Has he been worth the cost and the trade and now the gap, as you mentioned, right? And look, hindsight's 2020. He didn't have the best first season as a Titan. So it's hard to really analyze what that represents, but you can't cry over spilled milk. It's all, you got to have to figure it out. What's done is done. And Mike Borgonzi he kind of did make that trade, but didn't make that trade. So that's kind of odd and unique to this situation. But it definitely is a glaring gap because it goes into a couple of my questions that I'm going to get into later on in the show prior to this Titans draft is there's a lot of good players that that will be selected. Let's just face it, between the top of the second round and the fourth round, A lot. That's where you find the most value of, I think, true impact players over periods of time, right? You don't have to pay them the top 5 salaries that you're going to have to pay Cam Ward and Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, et cetera. That's where you can find a season-long, man. I don't want to say that. That's where Derrick Henry was found.
Sure. I think, and that's in this draft in particular, it's lighter at the top, but it's really, really good in the middle. And I think and there's a lot of like personal preference, team preference, scheme preference, all that stuff, where you can find a player drafted at 35 overall and somebody might like that guy at 65, but you'd like him at 35 and it's okay. And so I think there's a lot of fluidity in the middle on Friday in particular with the second and the third round. So let's go ahead and get to some of your questions here. You say you have 3 questions that you want to get off your chest before you head to Green Bay later this week for the NFL draft. So we'll get to Zach's 3 questions here in a second. But first, we'll tell you guys about our friends at Bart Durham Injury Law. You deserve to be paid for what you go through. Your big truck wreck is Bart Durham Injury Law's fight for justice. They can help you out in so many different ways because they are one of the great law firms in the Nashville area, but they've been serving Nashville, Tennessee, and Southern Kentucky for over 50 years since Bart Durham opened the doors to the business in 1975. And Bart passed a year ago in April, and his son Blair Durham has fully taken over the reins. And Blair is a great Nashvilleian, does a lot for the community behind the scenes, but also you can be a part of their team and be helped by their team by giving them a phone call, 615-242-9000. That's 615-242-9000 for Bart Durham Injury Law's team of attorneys to help you out, to get you the money that you deserve for any car accident, a big truck wreck, whatever it may be, because a crash can change your life forever. Bart Durham Injury Law is just a click away at bartdurham.com, but a call away as well at 615-242-9000 at Bart Durham Injury Law.
A to Z Sports, make sure that you like and subscribe and get that Lou Man 5-star special. Every Monday that I do this show, I look over the weekend, had a couple of 5 stars roll in on our Google review. So we appreciate that and the effort to combat the hate and lies that some individuals that do 1 stars that Google even recognized and removed. So we're fighting fire with fire. And that's the Lou Man 5-star special. You can go to Google A to Z Sports, give us a review, and we try to do the best work that we possibly can for Titans coverage and NFL coverage around. So like and subscribe.
All right. So Zach, you started our pre-show call this morning with, I got 3 questions that I want to get off, that I got to get. They got to ask them. And we'll see if they can find the answers to them. So I have no idea what these 3 questions are. So you go ahead and go through your 3 in whatever order they are, and we'll see where the conversation takes us.
Well, we'll start with this because I think this is, man, I don't know. I'm pretty interested in all 3 because I don't know them yet. Let's start at the top. Mike Borgonzi and his draft style. We know one thing, or at least can assume, again, I'm at 95, 99% assumption that Cam Ward is going to be drafted number 1 overall. He's not going to be the John Robinson type that trades away the number 1 pick for Jared Goff, essentially, and more picks and future picks. Different situation. But we knew that John Robinson, I think early on, was a gambling man. And gambling man in the sense of he went to later round value. Now, this got his ass fired over time, right? And he had some bad picks. We all know those bad picks, whether it's, Kevin Dodd or Traylon Burks, certain situations. But we started to find out a lot more about John Robinson as the picker, right? Yeah. What is Mike Borgonzi as the picker? Where does he see, and look, every draft is different. This is his first draft, but I think that some telling signs, we're going to find out a little bit more about how he thinks and how he analyzes his draft process. That's one big question compared to some of the other. Rand, we knew a little bit about Rand. We saw the Will Levis deal, which was, well, you can't get a first round, so you're going to trade up to get a quarterback at the top of the second, but he had fallen so far. all those things. That's number one, I think, in my mind heading into this week of finding out more about the new Titans general manager.
Yeah. So what is Mike Borgonzi's style as a drafter, right? Is kind of is the question. So whenever we were looking at Mike Borgonzi and he was the hire as Titans GM, I was talking to somebody that knows Mike Borgonzi a little bit and is familiar with his work. But they just said, go look and see at all the Chiefs picks. They all make sense. Like the Chiefs draft picks make sense. Like they somehow they find the fastest guy in the draft that always falls to them at like 29, 30 or 31 or 32. And everybody's like, damn it, we can't let the Chiefs get this guy. And then you let the Chiefs get that guy. And that seems to happen a lot. And then they also draft good players in the second round, good linebackers, good front seven guys. They find offensive linemen late in the draft and Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith to help out the center of that offensive line. So I'm curious to see how that translates because Mike Borgonzi wasn't the guy pushing the buttons and calling the shots in Kansas City. He was a part of the cabinet, as they said, with Andy Reid and Brett Veach and others that were the decision-making circle for the Chiefs over the last, 6 to 7 years, I believe. And so how does he do that with Chad Brinker and Brian Callahan? Because it's easier, I think, for those picks to make sense for the Titans because they have a lot of holes and you're going to see a player drafted and probably easily connect the dots of, oh, I see why they drafted that player there because they can probably fit in this spot because there's so many spots that are wide open.
Well, and the Kansas City Chiefs had different pieces than the Tennessee Titans currently do. Surprise, surprise. But it's a lot easier. Ask the Patriots. It's a lot easier to have the linchpins that Kansas City had, right? They didn't have to worry about the quarterback. Quarterback's the greatest quarterback that we've seen in some time. He was, the best of the best, right? And he valued speedy receivers because he could make plays. He had a huge arm down the field, and he's Patrick Mahomes. They also had a generational talent at tight end, which allowed them to go get, I don't want to say lesser wide receivers, but they weren't spending a ton of money on the Randy Moss and Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill they got rid of, right?
They got specialty receivers.
Right? And so because of their linchpins, great tight end. You mentioned Trey Smith in the offensive line. They were very good at being diverse and getting value at those positions, which to protect. Now, Patrick Mahomes probably covers up some of those issues to a degree, right? But that makes life a lot easier. And then you've got Chris Jones on the other side, which, unbelievable talent in the interior. Now, Jeffrey Simmons and Chris Jones, they've got some similar attributes in the sense of very disruptive, right? So how do you build around that? And then the Kansas City Chiefs, another thing that I don't think gets talked about is it's similar like the offensive line. Their corners in their secondary, they were able to turn over and continuously get good players in that position and then create value, whether it was Snead, whether it was Tyrann Mathieu, however many years ago. Like they always seemed to have a solid secondary, but it wasn't always the same cast of characters.
For sure. So we'll see what happens with Borgonzi. So what's question number 2?
Number 2 goes into the question that we have for the chat, because I think this is, if you're a Titans fan, I think this is a huge we'll ask about priority, but it is the question of what's the second biggest priority of the Titans draft after Cam Ward. That's what we're putting in the chat right now. You can go a lot of different ways. Talk about wide receivers. You talk about the bend of replacing Harold Landry, right? That gave a ton of good production. The cost got too high, but he earned that money after his ACL tear and was a huge part of the Titans. Not great teams the last couple of years, but he still got a ton of sacks. Or is it trades? We started the conversation today of like, are you trading back to get more picks because of that gap that you have on your draft board? So the question is, what is the second biggest priority of the Titans draft after Cam Ward? I think that's a massive question for this year's, 3 days and counting Tennessee Titans draft class.
Okay. So there are a lot of comments that are flying in here. I'll go ahead and just start reading them off. Titans Kyle says edge. IR says edge. John says wide receiver. Rashid edge. BPO. Best player opportunity. That's usually it's available. Mike Rabel's burner edge. Luke wide receiver. Eric wide receiver. Denise wide receiver. Darius wide receiver. Rookie should be edge, but it will be a wide receiver. Andre wide receiver. Jonathan edge. You got Rod just saying both. So that's pick one. Both of them can't be your second priority. Josh says wide receiver. Bizarro PK says wide receiver to help out your rookie quarterback. Best player available is what Mr. Wright came back and corrected himself, so he gets credit for that. But I'm seeing a lot of wide receiver edge. Like it is literally between those two things. So Zach, what do you think that the second biggest priority is?
I'm surprised that more people aren't saying trade back to get more picks.
I think that's like a sneaky trick question answer because
that's the route I'm going.
Okay.
Because I think that the value of this draft started with the number 1 overall pick, and the Titans played their card the way that they played it, right? Easton and I a couple of weeks ago talked about they could have been a little bit more sneaky. They could have been calling Sam Darnold and calling Jameis Winston and working out Russell Wilson to do a smoke screen to see what happens, right? That they're quarterback needy and that maybe they go out and get a veteran quarterback to have the opportunity to trade. But they didn't do that. They liked Cam Ward. They didn't go get a veteran, and here they are. I think that the opportunity at the top of the second round is very, very powerful. So I think the biggest priority for the Tennessee Titans is getting the most value out of the second round pick that they have. That's my answer. Because the chat, pick one, get off the fence. You can't do edge. Your second biggest priority can't be slash, right? It can't be wide receiver slash edge. It's got to be or.
Yeah.
And I think that if you concentrate on getting the best value to trade back and getting more picks, then the chat can do the slash or the and instead of the or. So I think that's where for the Titans, that's where it really is going to make that fajita sizzle. That day 2, baby, there's going to be that Friday morning when you wake up all the way till the music. It's going to be what are the trades because of the top of that draft.
I think it's because Andre says, because look, I find that very interesting. I like your answer to the question. I don't know if I fully buy into that. I think if you answer it by maximizing the second round pick, then that could be a lot of different ways. Because Andre says, I'm not trading back if Egbuka, Burden, or Pierce is there at 35. The chances of one of those three being there is interesting. I don't know how high it is. I wouldn't say it's like a above 50% chance that one of those three are there because all three of those players are first round talents, with Burden and Pierce having off the field questions about their personalities. And Egbuka, for whatever reason, just continuously falls down the board, but I think there's no chance he's there. In mocks, he at least falls down. But would drafting Luther Burden at 35 be enough to maximize your second round pick value? Does that answer your question?
Well, and
does that fit the answer to your question, I guess? Or James Pierce, who this time a year ago was a top 5 pick, potential.
You're now in the, again, you're kind of in the same situation of the Tavondre Sweat, as they got the most value of a guy who couldn't play all the snaps at the top of the second round, who played all of the snaps last year, right? And proved a lot of haters wrong. And I remember last year in Detroit when Sweat came off the board, you started to hear of, oh man, there's a lot of interest there. That's a really good pick. They went there, and that's the perfect time to select that type of player. So you're talking about those players with question marks, whatever. And look, they could end up to being Isaiah Wilson type question marks, right? Or they could be what Sweat has proven to not be a question mark, at least in 1 year. Those fall guys. And then I think this is actually how I started my question to get to where we are. Are they going to pair Cam Ward with his like wide receiver one type? You know, I know obviously no Calvin Ridley, but like there's a huge drop off. It's a cliff after Calvin Ridley on the roster, right? Like, are they going to hitch their wagon and find Cam Ward's young, talented wide receiver in this draft in the high rounds? Or are you going to like look a little bit down the road and say, we can find more talent at Cam Ward's young. He's not getting, he's got plenty of time. I think that's also an approach, which is the trade down aspect.
Yeah. All right. So we've got a lot of good questions and comments flying in here. So the question that we threw out there is, what's the Titans' second priority after drafting Cam Ward number 1 overall? Zach, your answer was to trade back / maximize the second round 35th overall pick. What do you think is a good answer? I'll give you my answer here in a moment, but first I want to tell everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who you can fall back on, who you can trust to get you off the sidelines and back into the game. And the Bone and Joint Institute can do that for you. They've done that for me with a couple different injuries the last few years. They've taught me how to rehab some things and do some injury management at home, which keeps me out of the doctor's office, keeps me out of the rehab facility and not doing physical therapy, and which saves me money. But the Bone and Joint Institute did that for me, and they can do that for you as well. They're located in Franklin, right off of I-65 and Highway 96, right next to Williamson Medical Center. Online, you can book an appointment, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports, don't forget, like and subscribe and give that Lou Man 5-star special right there on A to Z Sports. You can follow us and subscribe on YouTube, obviously on Twitter and Facebook. We're on all the socials, TikTok included. But go to Google, give us that 5-star special as we continue to our rating continues to go up, which is a positive. So we value that. Like and subscribe at A to Z Sports.
All right. So you asked the question, what is the second biggest priority of the Titans draft after Cam Ward? Mine is simply to build around Cam Ward is the second biggest priority. And so yours was to trade back / maximize the 35th overall pick, which I get, but mine is to continue to add to Cam Ward.
That tells me nothing. I mean, I hope you're going to get a little bit more specific. If we saw that on the chat, then we'd destroy that dude. You can't say generically get better.
I wasn't done talking. No, I was going to say to continue to build around Cam Ward, Zach.
What does that mean?
Draft a wide receiver like high and then draft another wide receiver on Saturday. I think the Titans have to come away with a wide receiver on Friday and then at least one wide receiver on Saturday. And if they just draft an edge at 35 on Friday, and they have to find a way to get back in the third round to get a wide receiver. I think the Titans must get a wide receiver on Friday night, and then they probably need to add another one in the fourth round, not wait too much longer on Saturday to do that. So here's what we've looked at the last handful of times a quarterback has gone number 1 overall. So I believe this is the right graphic for this. Yes. So Caleb Williams went number 1. The Bears then turned around and spent the 9th pick. They had different unique situations. They had 2 top 10 picks, but they went wide receiver Rome Odunze. In 2023, the Panthers took Bryce Young number 1 and then took wide receiver Jonathan Mingo the second round.
Whoa.
In 2022, not a great pick, but still they went quarterback wide receiver. In 2022, the Steelers went Kenny Pickett 20, and then they went George Pickens in the second round. In 2021, the Jags drafted Trevor Lawrence. They did sign Christian Kirk that reset the entire wide receiver market that in the free agency spot, but not included in this graphic was the fact that with the second pick the Jags had, they drafted Trevor Lawrence's running back, Etienne at 25 overall. And then Joe Burrow went number 1 in 2020. And they took T. Higgins with a second round pick. So my answer, Zach, is that's 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24. Here we are at 25. That's 5 drafts in a row already that they've gone quarterback number 1 and offensive weapon number 2, whether it's the second round or another first round pick. So I think the Titans absolutely got to go wide receiver on Friday. If it's not at 35, trade back a few spots, gain a third round pick, that's fine. But you got to get one of these wide receivers on Friday night.
Well, and Mike Vrabel's burner account says easier to find decent wide receiver than edge from roster cuts. So what do you think about that?
I think it's more important to find a wide receiver to work and practice with your quarterback than you can find more of a plug and play edge rusher from roster cuts. I can say that. Yeah, I'll buy that situationally.
So where you're at, and this is, that's why I'm glad that you got specific, because if they don't draft a wide receiver on Friday, you're sounding the alarms.
Yes. Because this franchise has been consistently kicking the can on the wide receivers.
I mean, that would be something, right? And I think your notion is justified. That's why I don't really have a lot of pushback on that, because I think your notion is justified based on one bit of knowledge that you, the rest of the chat, the damn organization, and everyone besides Cam Ward knows is how bad Treylon Burks really is.
Yeah.
The cliff that you drop off of after Calvin Ridley is far, wide, and got some jagged rocks at the end. And there is no one. Chiga Okonkwo is not this unbelievable, like, next generational wide receiving talent. I think he showed flashes, right? But he's nothing that you can go to complete war with. They don't have anybody.
No, they don't. They're thin. And so Jason
it's kind of wild that
Jason says, I like the idea of Keenan Allen, reliable vet for the rookie quarterback. Sure, you can do that. We talked Tyler Lockett some last week too, but you got to have somebody else there too. You can't just get one of the vets. You have to have
Van Jefferson is, I mean, I don't even know how you describe like that.
He's a wide receiver 3 to 4.
Yeah, he replaced NWI, and NWI's, you would take NWI every day of the week over Van Jefferson. Now, obviously, just because of what he's done, an opportunity, but I think that's the scary part, is now you've got this new toy. You've got this great car now, which is Cam Ward, but you're not putting the right gas in it. This thing takes premium and all you have is regular. I mean, but that's all you have. You just have regular unleaded. So you're going to have to put it in the car and pray that it can go down the road. That's kind of the situation. So you're saying go get some premium gas in the second or third round, and you don't have a third round pick.
Yes, you have to. And you got to get a wide receiver on Friday. And I'm going to let them potentially do it creatively and trade back a few spots to get a third rounder. Maybe they don't like the wide receivers at 42, but they can get one at 77. I don't know. Like there's good wide receivers in this draft in the second and third round. They are very much scheme specific, pan personal type wide receivers, whether it's Jalen Noel out of Iowa State or Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State, or maybe it's Kyle Williams out of Wazoo who played with Cam Ward too, or there's opportunities to find the wide receiver flavor that you prefer on day 2, but you got to find it. You have to take a swing at one of them.
So this goes back to my original point and my original question, my first question, which is, how does Mike Borgonzi draft? What is his style, and how does he evaluate talent? Austin, notoriously, let's talk about like the second and third and fourth round picks at wide receiver of the Tennessee Titans. They've been god awful.
Well,
AJ
all the
Brown
wide
is the
receiver picks have
exception.
been, yes.
AJ Brown is the exception. But if you went through and looked at all of the wide receivers drafted in the mid rounds, they are dog. And I ain't talking about the good part.
Yeah.
Slaw City, they are awful. Trashola, cut, paper cut, scissors.
Yeah, they're really
awful. Bad. And that I think is, look, new talent evaluation, new draft class. It's not the same, but that does make you a little scary. I think a little scary of like, oh God, the Titans are good at this. They don't know how to do this.
But
fair?
It's different. It's different people, though.
I know, but I mean, some of the same scouting rooms there.
But it's different decision makers. And I've said this a few different times on the show over the last few months, that the one thing that continues to make me more confident than not confident in the Titans and their Cam Ward evaluation is that Chad Brinker, Aaron Rodgers, Mike Borgonzi, Patrick Mahomes, Brian Callahan, Joe Burrow have spent so much time of their careers around elite quarterbacks that they know what the elite quarterback is supposed to look like in the practice field, walking around the hallway, in the meeting rooms. Like, they know what those guys look like. And so now when they're watching Cam Ward, they've been there with early Aaron Rodgers. They've been there with Mahomes and Burrow from day one. And so now they can see how Cam Ward stacks up to those other evaluations. Just like they can see, hey, the Chiefs, I just talked about this. The Chiefs have been drafting the fastest guy in the class that nobody wants to drop to the Chiefs every year, and it's worked out. There's been some circumstances like Rashee Rice that got in the way, but for the most time, it has worked out really well.
I got to do this, and I hate to do this, but this is why I brought this up, because it's kind of baffling. Can they break this trend? Because what you're sitting here, this is your answer, which again, I don't necessarily disagree with it, because it makes some sense. Is like, go find Cam Ward's young connection and go find him now. Don't wait.
Yeah.
Looking at the Titans' history, and you hope that it doesn't repeat itself, and you hope Cam Ward changes the trajectory of the Titans, right? Because the Mariota thing didn't work out. That was a high quarterback pick. I mean, they've been there before. Jake Locker didn't work out. Vince Young didn't work out. Like, they're trying to buck this trend. But really, the trend that they need to buck is drafting wide receivers from 1 to 5. In 1 to the 5th round, they've been really, really bad. Let's just start with Treylon Burks. He's really, really bad. Kyle Phillips,
bad.
Cut. See ya. Bye. Des Fitzpatrick. See ya.
Awful.
Bye. AJ Brown is the exception. We've established that. That was an unbelievable pick that I called in October. Great move right there in the 2nd round to get value. Taywan Taylor. Gross. Corey Davis. Real big bust. Number 5 overall in the entire NFL draft. That's tough. Tajay Sharp for a 5th round pick was okay.
No, Tajay, and I brought this up a week or so ago, that the Titans need to find another Tajay Sharp on day 3
in the 5th round, but they need to find somebody before him too.
Well,
right?
yes, yeah, but like the thing about Tajay is, what year was Tajay drafted? 2016. That was John Robinson's first draft.
Correct.
That was a reset year. Tajay Sharp was a high floor player, lower ceiling player. And as a high floor player, he came in and immediately was productive as a 5th round rookie. They need to find that type of receiver for Cam Ward, whether it's in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th round. They need to find a high floor level player that can come in and be reliable for their rookie quarterback from day 1. And Tajay should get credit for that.
I'll stop, because now we're getting into like the later years. But
Yeah.
Dorial Green Beckham, no
Justin
good.
Hunter, Kendall Wright.
And then Justin Hunter. I'm going to end it Justin Hunter and Kendall Wright. So I think that's why Titans fans.
Brett, you keep going.
Tyrone Calico. That's why I think Titans fans, with what your answer is, logically it makes perfect sense. But history says that they're not good at that.
Yeah, but history is like they are different. They are not the same people.
I know, but still, I mean, it's wearing the two-tone blue, right? So
yeah, you show up to you get a Titans paycheck, and then you just forget how to evaluate wide receivers.
The answers are in, and that's the truth.
Hopefully that it's not the case.
And that's why I'm not saying that it is absolutely going to happen, but I do think you have to understand the past to, predict the future or get prepared for the future to buck that said trend.
Right.
So wearing two-tone blue gets to my last question that I'm intrigued about. And this is a pan-personal for me.
Okay.
Maybe most people, and it's a two-parter. The first one is, will Cam Ward request the unretiring of Warren Moon's number 1 jersey? Because you have to ask before that can happen, right? So I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because I think that's going to probably be, I've got to follow up after Cam gets drafted. Will Cam Ward request to wear the number 1 jersey like we saw Malik Neighbors do to Ray Flaherty of the New York Giants to get number 1? The Flaherty family came there and said, yes, we're okay with that. Warren Moon is alive and well, and will Cam Ward ask for that number 1? I think that's a really good question.
So Sam and I talked about this Thursday because I don't like the numbers options for Cam Ward, and this is important.
Stay away from 8 and 10. Those are off.
Well, right. 10's taken. Hold on. I'll have to, because Sam wrote about this over the weekend about which numbers are available. Right now, we know 9's unavailable because it's retired for Steve. And we also know that 1 is unavailable currently because of Warren Moon. Excuse me, I'm trying to get to Sam's article, which is taking a bit. So I want to say Brandon Allen is currently number 10. So that's not available for him too, which is a good thing. And 4 is available because now Stonehouse is gone. 7's available. 7 is what
I'm with Ashley real quick. Just don't wear 8. And Will Levis has 8, but Will Levis may or may not be a Titan after the weekend. Who knows?
Yep.
And then I do want to correct. I think somebody said that he wore 7. Yeah, he wore 1 at Washington State. He wore 7 at UIW.
Yes.
So he has worn 7 before.
He wore 7 in high school.
He likes 1. That's obvious.
All right, so here we go. I got Sam's article pulled up here. 0, Calvin Ridley. 1, retired for Warren Moon. 2, Tajay Spears. 3 belongs to punter Johnny Hecker. 4 is available. 5 is available. 6 is kicker Joey Sly. 7 is available. 8, Will Levis. 9, retired for McNair. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 are all taken. Then you have 17, which is a combination of 1 and 7.
1 and 7
is also available, but previously was Ryan Tannehill. So I don't like 7. I don't think Cam Ward in 7 looks good. It looks like Malik Willis, and it's got bad juju of Zach Mettenberger. So I don't think 7 looks right. 17 is interesting.
17 is very interesting.
Now, good to your answer. Will he ask Warren Moon if he can unretire 1?
That's my question. Okay.
I don't think he will ask. Warren Moon will be asked for sure. Would you allow Cam Ward to wear number 1? I think that is how, if it happens, I think it's Warren Moon says, I give you my blessing to wear number 1 with the Titans.
And I don't think Warren Moon should do that.
Why?
Because I think that is an honor that is earned by Warren Moon. And I would not do that. If I was Warren Moon, I would just say, look, there's plenty of numbers in the sea. You know, like
but it's not like
how do you answer that question if you're Warren Moon and you don't want to give it up? To not, because I mean he earned the damn retiring of the number. I mean, his numbers are unbelievable. His illustrious career.
I think he will. I think he'll say yes, though. I think he will, because it's been worn by the Titans. A Titans player has worn number 1. Zach, do you know the last person to wear number 1 for the Titans? It's not like it's been never worn. Like when Steve took off 9 and Eddie took off 27 for the last time, nobody else put it on. Like the Titans kept that hidden, right? But number 1's been worn.
Gary Anderson?
Gary Anderson. Right? Yeah. So like Warren Moon, the last guy wearing his jersey number, has one bar on his face mask just like on his jersey. So why not let Cam Ward wear it? It's been worn.
Cole brings this up, which I think, Warren Moon never wore it as a Tennessee Titans jersey, right? Sure. That was Houston Oilers jersey, which is different. So Houston Oilers one can be retired. That's why it's unique. That's why I have a question is, so your answer is no, you don't think Cam Ward will ask.
I don't think Cam Ward will ask. I think Warren Moon will be asked, and I think Warren Moon will say yes.
Okay. So
will Cam Ward take it? He does not need to wear 7. I think it's either 1 or 17.
I think that it's probably, I think 7's in play though.
7's 100% in play.
So my second follow-up question is something that Cam Ward said. And again, I'm a jersey fiend. Like that's just my mind. I enjoy the aesthetic of jerseys. If you, I saw a clip of him playing Fortnite and he's sitting there and I don't know, it's hostage, but he's got a Titans guy. I don't know if did you see this where he's wearing the number 1 jersey and he's like, ooh, I like that jersey. Hey, chat, do you like the combo of this jersey? Week 1 combo. That week 1 combo is all baby blue. We know that they're changing to light blue, Titans blue, however you want to categorize it, as their main primary jersey. Will they wear the all code blue for the first week? You have your franchise quarterback. That's marketing. This is marketing 101. Thank you, Cam Ward, for entering the chat and talking about the chat. That is another question that I have is, will that Fortnite clip come to fruition week 1? Because that would be unbelievable. I think it'd be a genius move. Titans lean into it. They do code blue. They're a completely different team. It's a new era. It is a new look, a new feel. This is my subsector of my Warren Moon question.
All right. We'll see. I don't want him to wear 7. Somebody asked, is 3 available? 3 is currently new punter Johnny Hecker. So the quarterback numbers available are 4, 5, 7, and 17. That's it. 4, 5, 7, and 17. So hopefully it's not 7, because I just think that's an ugly number. I think 7 is an ugly number by itself, and the Titans fun. That's just my opinion. I don't like the Titans jersey numbers, honestly.
Only a matter of time before and this is not going to happen with the Titans, but a quarterback takes 0. Because we haven't really seen that.
Can they?
Hell, if a linebacker can have 1.
But it might not. I don't know. Like quarterbacks might have to still be 1 to 19. I don't know if they can take 0.
Let's Google it real quick. Starting in 2023, the number 0 is once allowed to be issued to any player except offensive and defensive line.
Oh, so they can wear 0. Okay.
That, I think, is the next.
Which I think they should allow a defensive lineman to wear 0. I think that's a stupid rule. I think O-line, sure, don't wear 0. D lineman, yeah, give that 0 to a big boy. Put 00 on it if he's big enough. So, all right, Zach, you ready for the age game?
I am.
All right, age game time. I will toss something to you for the age game. But before we do that, make sure you remember that Wilson County Hyundai is where you should turn for all of your new car buying needs. WilsonCountyHyundai.com in Lebanon. They will help you save money on that new ride. Don't pay those downtown prices. So go check out our friend Painbone and say hey to him at WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So, Zach, it's the age game time. I give you a person. We just talked a little bit about it. I just decided to go do this on the fly. We just talked about the jersey number 1, Warren Moon, the last guy, the quarterback to wear number 1 for this organization, but not the last player. How old is Gary Anderson, the last player to wear number 1 for the Titans Oilers franchise? How old is Gary Anderson?
Wow. Because now, well, this is a tough one because you got Morton Anderson too, right? Like very similar. And I don't know the age gap between the two. This is a good question. Well, he's been out of the league for some time, right? So like now you have and he kicked probably later than any kicker ever, probably. I don't know if that's a guarantee, but so now we've extended his ability. Retired from football. I mean, I feel like he's old. Like, I feel like he's in his, definitely 60s, but is he pushing? I don't think he's pushing his 70s. I think he's late 60s. I think in the great words of Seabass, I'm going to go 69.
69. Okay. Cost 52, way too young. IR 62, too young. 58's too young. 62 again, too young. 61 too young. 58 too young. Nick Ewing 64. Too young. 47, way too young. He'd still be kicking right now. He was 47 still. Scott, 63. Alex, they're 68. 75's too old. 60. 63, 54, 57. All the 50 numbers are too young. Zach, you said what? 69? That's too old. Titans Kyle is correct. First answer is 65. Now, I don't know. How many wins is this for Titans Kyle?
I think he may have killed the game.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
65 years old. 23 seasons kicking in the NFL.
Let's see here. Titans Kyle.
Is that number 6?
Here, I'll put it up on the screen.
That's not a good sign.
I'll put this up there on the screen. Titans Kyle. No Googling.
I mean, he was pretty early in it. He was like the 8th answer total. Oh no, game over. Boom, 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 boom.
That's all she wrote. We had a good run. That's Titans Kyle's 6th win, which means that was the guidelines that once we got to 6-time champion, we would retire the game forever, or at least for a period of time. May bring it back like throwbacks at some point. But so now, look, it's draft week. We got a lot on our plate. You have to find a new Monday end of show topic that is not bad sales job.
Yeah.
The real OGs know about bad sales job.
Yeah.
So we'll
you know what I found interesting? Warren Moon is only 3 years older than Gary Anderson.
I do have an idea for that I thought of. I do have an idea for how to replace this.
Okay.
That's fun and similar, but not the same. So
you're gonna leave it at that?
Yeah, look,
Hey,
we
that's
got
fine.
to give the age game its respect that it deserves, right?
Yes,
You can't
yes.
talk about the new girlfriend when the old girlfriend. This is where we are, right? And so
Hey,
we
it's
had a
it
great
kind of
run.
works out nicely that the Titans are going to enter the Cam Ward era next Monday, and we're going to enter the post-age game era.
Post-age game era. So congratulations to Titans Kyle. He is a true champion, as they say.
The only champion. The grand champ of
the grand champ,
game.
Titans Kyle.
All right, that's it. Like the show, hit the like button, like the show, share the show, and give us a 5-star Google review, please. That goes a long way for us. We'll catch you guys tomorrow morning on a Tuesday as draft week continues. Buck Rising live tonight for A to Z Sports Prime Time. Hope everybody had a great weekend, a great safe Easter weekend, and we'll see you guys later on. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.